Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Rajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajanarandana Yamunatira Vanatam Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Rajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajanarandana Yamunatira Vanatam Hari Yamunatira Vanatam Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Rajanarandana Yamunatira Vanatam Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radhe Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev विष्णुपाद परमहंस छाया श्रोता सत्य शिष्य ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। विष्णुपाद परमहंस छाया श्रोता सत्य शिष्य भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्री प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की श्री रूप श्री सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ जीव गोपाल सरगनाथ सार गोसाई प्रभु की प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवहरि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपा गोपी गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। मैपुर धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। तुलसी महारानी भक्ति देवी की जय। गंगा यमुना देवी की जय। हरि नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। श्री श्री गौनिताय की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय। श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर की जय। गौर प्रेम नंदे हरि हरि बोल। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। और ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, 9th chapter, text number 31. Ninth chapter, text number 31. kṣipraṁ bhavati dharmātmā śaśvac-chāntiṁ nigacchati kaunteya pratijānīhi name bhaktaḥ praṇaśyati kṣipraṁ bhavati dharmātmā śaśvat-chāntiṁ nigacchati kaunteya pratijānīhi name bhaktaḥ praṇaśyati kṣipraṁ bhavati dharmātmā śaśvat-chāntiṁ nigacchati kaunteya pratijānīhi name bhaktaḥ praṇaśyati kṣipraṁ bhavati dharmātmā śaśvat-śāntim nigacchati kaunteya pratijānīhi name bhaktaḥ praṇaśyati kṣipraṁ bhavati dharmātmā śaśvat-śāntim nigacchati kaunteya pratijānīhi name bhaktaḥ praṇaśyati kṣipraṁ bhavati dharmātmā kaunteya pratijānīhi name bhaktaḥ praṇaśyati. Mataji's kṣipraṁ bhavati dharmātmā śaśvat-śāntim nigacchati kaunteya pratijānīhi name bhaktaḥ praṇaśyati kṣipraṁ bhavati dharmātmā śaśvat-śāntim nigacchati kaunteya pratijānīhi name bhaktaḥ praṇaśyati kṣipraṁ very soon bhavati becomes dharmātmā righteous śaśvat-śāntim lasting peace, nigacchati, attains, kaunteya, O son of Kuntī, pratijānīhi, declare, never, my bhaktaḥ, devotee, praṇaśyati, perishes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kuntī, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Purport. This should not be misunderstood. In the 7th chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in mischievous activities cannot become a devotee of the Lord. One is not a devotee of the Lord, has no good qualification whatsoever. The question remains then, how can a person engage in abominable activities, either by accident or by intention, be a pure devotee? The question may justly be raised. The miscreants are stated in the 7th chapter who never come to the devotional service of the Lord, have no good qualification, as it is stated in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Generally, a devotee who is engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional service is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination from the heart. He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. According to the Vedas, there is a certain regulation that if one falls down from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic processes to purify himself. But here there is no such condition, because the purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee, due to his remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare, should be continued without stoppage. This will protect the devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contamination. Om Ajnanatimidantasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yanam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupagadama Yam Tadati Sapadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutabada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Chirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastade Datta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Kṛṣṇa Hare Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Rāma Hare Rāma 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 Hare Hare kṣipraṁ bhavati dharmātmā śaśvac-chāntiṁ nigacchati kaunteya pratijānīhi nāme bhaktaḥ praṇaśyati. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kuntī, declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. Krishna explained to Arjuna, his dear devotee, about a person who may be engaged in devotional service, but then is facing some difficulty. As explained in the famous verse, previous verse, api chet suduracharo bhajante mamananya bhaksadureva samantavya samyak vyavasitahi saha. So one may be engaged in devotional service, bhajan, constantly, ananya. But then he may be engaged in sudur achar. Achar means, sadachar means proper behavior. Durachar means improper behavior. Sudur means very improper behavior, sinful activities, most abominable action. And then even so before it is mentioned, api chet, even though. So he may be engaged in abominable activity, but if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly. Because he is engaged in devotional activity. So, and here Krishna is explaining kṣipraṁ, bhavati. Very quickly he becomes again righteous, dharmātmā. Atma, as we know, spirit soul is there. So, who is following religious principles, dharma. Dharma ultimately also means a person actually who is engaged in devotional service. That is dharma. So one who is engaged in devotional service is properly situated. And so then and Krishna is explaining further on that such a devotee, so he praṇaśyati, is never perishing. And so, because Krishna is protecting his devotee, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is all powerful, perfect and complete, and he wants his part and parcels to be engaged in his loving exchange, in devotional service. By nature, the soul is actually to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. That is his constitutional position. Jivara sopoi krishnere nityadas. But due to being in this material world, and due to the modes of material nature, due to being forgetful of Krishna, is engaged in materialistic activities. But Krishna is always trying to induce his part and parcel to be engaged in devotional service. Mamevam sajiva loke jiva bhūta sanatana manasyastrayandhyani Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa is explaining 15th chapter. The devotees, the spirit souls are my part and parcels. But being in this material world, they are struggling with the mind and the senses. But of course, the pure devotees, they are always engaged in devotional service. And they will actually never fall down. But the conditioned souls who are trying to become realized, they are trying to be elevated to the supreme position. So they may sometimes become bewildered by the modes of material nature, and then they may engage in activities which are not to be done by a devotee, as mentioned in previous verse, durachara, sudurachara. Even though they may try to be always engaged in devotional service, but due to circumstances, modes of material nature, due to weakness of heart, they may be deviated for the time being. But if they are continuously engaged in devotional service, Krishna will protect them, Krishna will help them, and therefore they are to be considered still saintly, they are to be considered properly situated because they are engaged in devotional service. And Krishna is very mercifully forgiving them. At the same time, it is mentioned in the scriptures also, specifically also it is mentioned in the different offenses towards the holy names, that the seventh one specifically to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting of the holy names. Sometimes somebody may again be engaged in improper activity, but then actually at that point that will be of course considered an offense to the holy name, an offense to the Lord. And at that time, if one is repeatedly engaged in sinful activities or improper activities, then Krishna may not be pleased with that devotee. And that devotee may not be considered to be as a saintly devotee if again and again is engaged in improper activities. Only those who are constantly engaged, and very rarely, maybe once only or very rarely, they may slip from their constitutional position of being fully engaged in devotional activities, then he is still to be considered saintly, otherwise not. That we have to understand. And Krishna is the supreme pure, and Krishna, just like a good father, so he will always encourage the child, and usually doesn't, of course he will see the fault and he will correct the child, but he's very positive and he's trying to encourage the child, because he knows the child is just trying to become mature. So similarly, the Supreme Lord is understanding the devotee is trying to become mature, is trying to become advanced, and therefore if there's some difficulty, sometimes he will excuse the devotee. Just like a loving father, he will excuse the child who is sometimes doing something wrong. But then the father will expect the child to ultimately to become mature and not to commit any mistake. Similarly, Krishna also wants his devotee to become mature and not commit mistakes again and again and again. That we have to clearly understand. So, and even in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, similar statements are there, that if one, due to the modes of material nature, due to not being completely ripe in his understanding or in his devotional performance, if he may fall down, he's still to be considered as a devotee, and he is to be respected as such also. So devotional life is a very, very fine line. And it is also mentioned in the scriptures that it is just like, spiritual life is just like a razor's edge. So sometimes when we shave, and the blade is very sharp. If one is not careful, then one can cut oneself. So one has to be careful. So similarly, in devotional life, one has to execute their devotional activities very carefully. And one has to know that in this material world, in the conditioned state, the modes of material nature are very strong. The mind and the senses, they're always trying to be enjoying in this world, because in the conditioned state that is almost natural that one wants to enjoy. So therefore one has to be careful and try to be engaged always in devotional service, and one has to try to control as much as possible the mind and the senses by being constantly engaged in devotional service. If one is not engaged in devotional service, it is practically impossible to control the mind and senses. Only the impersonalists who are also on the spiritual path but with no complete understanding, they may have some ability to control the mind and the senses, but it is very difficult and very rare. So even as practicing to be always able to control the mind and the senses, it is very difficult. But at least one has to try one's best, and one has to be careful, and one has to actually cry out for the help of the Supreme Lord, or the devotees of the Lord, the spiritual master. So Prabhupada has explained also, just like a child is in difficulty, then he will go to his father and mother and he will cry. Sometimes children, they are playing and then there's some little quarrel is there for some small reason, but for the children it is very, very, because they are in this age and so they will not understand things properly, and they are then sometimes quarreling for very small things. But for them it is something very big, and therefore they go to the parents and then they cry, oh, this other boy or this other girl did this to me, said this to me. And then the father and the mother will console the child, or if actually then something was done wrong, then he will try to rectify very lovingly. So the child is always there calling out in difficulty to the parents, and the parents are there to help immediately. So similarly, the Supreme Lord is there to help his devotees if there is some difficulty. Especially if the devotee is crying out, is crying for help to Krishna, or to the internal potency, Srimati Radharani, or to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or to the pure devotee who is also powerful. So that is actually the process. One has to pray for the mercy, one has to beg for the mercy, one has to cry for the mercy of the Lord. Because by our own endeavor, simply by endeavoring, so endeavor has to be there, must be there, sincere and serious endeavor must be there. But at the same time, without the mercy of the Lord or His representative, the pure devotee, it is almost impossible to be fully absorbed in spiritual activities and to be also able to overcome all difficulties without fail. Very difficult. So, but we need the mercy of the Lord. And so throughout the scriptures, of course, various examples are there in the lives of many devotees. Famous example, of course, is there of Prahlad Maharaj. So he was facing many difficulties, but he was calling out to the Lord, and the Lord always was there to help him. And so even in regards to devotees who had difficulties, in the sense that, as explained here, that they were not able to follow the regulative principles properly. For example, there was one great devotee, Bilva Mangal Thakur. He was actually, it is mentioned by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he had developed spontaneous love for Krishna. But actually due to some contamination, actually due to some mistake in his previous life, so he became, although he was a householder of Brahmana family, he was engaged in Brahminical activities, but then he became attached to a prostitute. Of course, the prostitute was also by good fortune, and she was also a devotee. And so therefore one time when he went to see her, then actually it was a very stormy night. So because he used to go to see her at night time, and when everyone was ready to take rest, And so it is even mentioned that actually that day there was a religious function in regards to his father who had left the body. But then immediately after the function he just left there, which usually we know when there's some religious function, then usually one will be actually situated in this religious activity, and then one may be also understanding the importance of engaging always in spiritual activities, and then there may be less chances of deviating from religious principles. But he was just so bewildered and that he actually later this same evening he was going to the place of the prostitute, and so it was a stormy evening and it was raining, there was lightning and thunder, and then he had to cross the river. So he crossed the river. It is even explained that because the current was a little strong, there was a corpse there, and so he was just hanging onto there, and in this way he crossed to some extent, so the help was there. And then he had to cross the wall, because as we know many times, to protect the house, there is or to also designate the place of one's land. So there's a fence, so it is a wall. So there was a wall surrounding his land, or the prostitute's land, where she was living and staying in her house. And the wall was a little high. And then, so he didn't see clearly, because it was raining and it was dark. There was a kind of something there, a rope was there, and he was climbing on the rope. When he came up there, he saw it was actually a serpent. And somehow, unfortunate, the serpent didn't mind bite me. Some big serpents are there. Usually they are not poisonous, but they can swallow you. Python. And then even here in Vrindavan, sometimes we see. Not here, they don't roaming around here, the serpents. But sometimes people also in nearby villages, they will see, and sometimes they will catch them. And then there are some people there, they are trying to make money by showing the people the big python. They show huge, 2 meters, 3 meters. So anyhow, so he came down the wall. So climbing up is a little difficult. By going down, you can usually just hang down and then you just jump down. And then he went to the door and he knocked on the door, tock, tock, tock. And she opened the door and she saw him and she was saying, "What are you doing? And this rainy night, you're just coming to see me. You're very eager, but rather you should actually be eager to try to see Kṛṣṇa, to approach Kṛṣṇa." And then he came to his senses. By good fortune he understood, yes, it's actually foolishness from my side. On this day of auspicious ceremony for the auspiciousness of my father, I just left, and then I came here. Although I have a good wife also. So he was feeling ashamed, and then he just left, and he was thinking, I will just leave my home and I will just go to Vrindavan and take shelter of Kṛṣṇa. The acharyas have explained, so actually that because in his previous life, so he committed some mistakes, so therefore he had to undergo this difficulty there, that he became so attracted to women. And so, but he had a determination, now we'll give up everything. So many times it is like this, one will try to give up all inauspicious things, but due to conditioned nature, one will still then not be able to remain properly situated. So he was going towards Vrindavan, and then on the way, he was feeling thirsty, he was going towards a well, and the village women, usually the village women, they were taking the water for the household, drinking water especially from the well. And then there was a beautiful young woman there, and again he became attracted, his eyes became attracted. And he started following her, and she noticed that, and she quickly was walking home, and then she told her husband that this one person is following me. I said, anyway, never mind, we'll speak to him. So as he came close, then the husband of the woman was asking him, my dear sir, what do you want? And then he said, I just need something from your wife. I said, okay. He called his wife, and then he said, please give me your hairpin. So the women have usually a hairpin when they put the hair behind up to hold the hair, they have a hairpin. And then, so he got the pin and he plucked out his eyes. So that is a difficult thing to do. And of course, husband and wife, they were shocked, but what to do? So he did that, but then he left. So he was thinking that actually these eyes are actually my enemies, and they are dragging me down, so let me just take them out. Then maybe I can try to be always absorbed in chanting the holy names, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. And as he was going, a little bit difficult without seeing to go, and you need usually the help of somebody. So he was going with a stick and of course asking the people the direction, and he was walking slowly. And then suddenly one boy came, holding his hand and saying, Baba, where you want to go? Oh, I want to go to Vrindavan, please help me. Yes, surely I will help you. And then so that boy, that was actually Kṛṣṇa, was holding his hand and bringing him to Vrindavan, and all the way. So actually, the small boy, he was talking very nicely to Baba, and he was telling him that here in Vrindavan I have so many friends, and every day we are playing. Taking out, he was telling that actually I'm a cowboy, and my father is actually having so many cows, and so every day I take them out for grazing, and the calves, and all my friends, they're also coming with their cows, and then we play and we have so much fun. And he was simply listening, and he was thinking, oh, this boy is so sweet, he's speaking so sweetly, and he's so kind that is bringing me here. And then, so then Bilvamangal Thakur also was asking him some questions also. So then, so what is your name? And then of course he was saying, oh, they just call me Kanna. And then he was saying, so where do you stay? Oh, I stay in Nandagaon. Oh, okay. And then he was saying, what is your father's name? And so in this way, of course, then Kṛṣṇa, he didn't answer him that. And he was saying, oh, I do not remember now what is his name, I just call him Pitasri. Oh, okay. And my mother, I call her Maya. All right, okay. And then he went closer and closer, and ultimately they reached Vrindavan, and the boy is saying, Kṛṣṇa is saying, oh, now I have to go and again join my friends, and we play a little more. And then he was saying, okay, very nice, thank you very much. But then actually he realized by Kṛṣṇa's mercy that was actually Kṛṣṇa himself who brought him here to Vrindavan. So Kṛṣṇa is so merciful. And the acharyas have explained, because of his previous devotional service, because he was engaged in spontaneous devotional service, so ultimately he was able to attain perfection. Only due to some mistake in his last life, to some improper activity, so therefore in this lifetime also, so he was engaged in devotional activities, but then he had to again suffer to some extent, and so therefore also he actually plucked out his eyes, and then he was actually purified of all the contamination, because he was repenting and lamenting, and he was calling out to Krishna. Then Krishna himself came and he helped him. So many pastimes are there. There's another pastime is there of one Brahmana. He was reading the Bhagavad Gita, as we are reading here, and actually the verse just came few verses before. It is there. Ananya chintantam mamya janapaya pasate tesham nityabhayuktanam yogakṣemam vahamyaham. Here again also, ananya chintantam mam, ananya. So just like Pichetsura Rachora Bhajante Mam Ananya Bhak. Ananya means undivided devotional service. By undivided devotional service I can be attained. So if one is always thinking about Krishna, then Yogakṣemam Vahamyaham. Whatever is lacking, so whatever he has, whatever he has, that I will protect, and whatever is lacking, whatever he is needing, that I will give him. I will give him. And then it is mentioned, Vahami Aham. Aham means myself, I will carry myself. And the Brahman was thinking, well, Krishna is the Supreme Lord, why he should carry himself? He will arrange through his other devotees that the devotee will be protected, and whatever the devotee will need, that he will get somehow. And he was thinking, I should correct this, what is mentioned here. So he was crossing that with his pen. Vaham Yaham. And he was thinking, I will change to that through my agent, so it will be done. Then he went to take his bath in the nearby river, and then in the meantime, so his good wife had prepared the food and offered to the Lord, because he was a little late somehow. And in the meantime, two boys came, one with fair complexion, one dark complexion, and they were having two bags, and they came to the house, and the wife was seeing, and the two boys are coming here, they're having two big bags, and actually before the wife had told the husband that, oh yeah, actually my wife also told me, our grains are finished, and this is finished, that is finished. Please, we have to get the supply. Okay, yes. And so then, the husband, he was a little anxious, and he was trying to see how I can get the things now. She had told him, you get some things home. And he was so wondering and trying to see how I can get something. So the Brahmanas, they may sometimes ask, of course Brahmanas usually are teaching and they get some remuneration, or they are doing some yajna, some performance, and then they get a donation. So myself also had to do one yajna, so I get some remuneration. Of course then we have to give to others also. Brahmana is studying the scriptures, is teaching, is doing the worship, is teaching others, is getting some donation, is giving to others also, especially to other Brahmanas or to the Lord or to the spiritual master. So he was a little bit anxious and trying to ask some persons to give him something. But then he had to take his bath also, and then he thought, let me take my bath first, and then we'll see what we can get. But on that day he was not successful. He was going different houses to ask something, but everyone was saying, well, now we cannot give anything. So these two boys, they came and they said, here your husband has collected these things. Wow, so many things. And they were looking a little unhappy, and so she asked, why are you so unhappy? And then one boy, the one with the darkish complexion, was saying, well, actually, we were not really ready to carry these bags, but then your husband actually beat me. What? Yeah, look here on the back here, two stripes are there. Oh, this is not good, I will scold him. And so she had prepared and already offered the lunch, and so she was feeding these two boys, and then they left. And the husband comes home, and the wife was of course she was happy that all the things were there, so many grains and whatever they needed, more than enough. So she was a kind of happy with her husband, but at the same time that he's beating, and the boy, because he was not ready to carry these things immediately, so that was not nice. So she told her husband, thank you for bringing so many things, that is very good, we really need it. And he was saying, what? Yeah, these two boys, they brought these two bags. What, two boys? Yes, now you send these two boys with all these things for us. But why did you beat this boy, the darkish complexion boy? Two stripes are there in the back. And boy was saying, with the rope he beat us. And then he was saying, no, oh my God, and he remembered that he crossed Vaham Yaham with a pen. And then he told his wife that actually I did a mistake. I was crossing Vaham Yaham in this verse of Bhagavad Gita, thinking that Krishna himself is not carrying the things, but his devotee will do something. Through some other devotee will arrange that the needy devotee will get what he needs. So, but now I realize that Krishna himself is providing. So these two boys were actually Krishna Balaram. We are fortunate, you're fortunate, you saw Krishna Balaram. Very fortunate. And then of course she was also so happy, and then so they were very happy, and so in this way we can see many pastimes are there of Krishna protecting his devotees and supplying whatever they need. So many wonderful pastimes are there, and so that is for all his devotees. Of course, the pure devotees, like in Braj, so when Krishna was present here in Braj, so many demons came. Actually, every day a demon came. Purport is explained. And Krishna was playing, having fun with his friends, with the gopis, and by the way, one demon is coming, and then Krishna very easily kills the demon, even big demon. But then the devotee, of course, when the demon came, like Agasura, or Bakasura, or Keshi, the horse demon, so then they were, because they were big, so demons in form of animals, and they became afraid, and then immediately call out, Krishna, Krishna! And then Krishna is coming, and Krishna is killing the demons, one after the other. So, of course, that is for the eternal associates. Ultimately, they don't have to worry, but in the past time, they think that we are just ordinary persons and Krishna is just our friend. They are not aware of Krishna's position as the Supreme Lord. And neither in the spiritual world, in Golok, as also in this world, when Krishna performs his pastimes in this world, his associates, they don't know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. But Krishna then is protecting his devotees, but even those devotees who are not his eternal associates, but those who are engaged in devotional activities, and then who are elevated to the position of pure devotional service, and then they're joining Krishna's pastimes. So they're also definitely protected, even if sometimes there's a little mistake in their activities. So Krishna is most merciful. And Krishna is performing his pastimes, two kinds of pastimes. Krishna's pastimes in the spiritual world, they are known as Nitya Lila, always going on in the spiritual world. And then the pastimes in this world, they are called as Naimittika Lila. They're happening only when the material world is manifested. But even there, of course, the Krishna's pastimes, they are very similar to his pastimes in the spiritual world. Except that, of course, here Krishna is taking birth, whereas in Golok is always 14 years old, 14, 15 years old. That's his eternal age, Kṣipraṁ, Yovavasta, as a fresh youth, most beautiful, most charming, with such wonderful qualities, attracting his devotees, loving exchange with his devotees. But in this world, so he appears in this world, he's growing just like an ordinary child, but he's extraordinary. And even as a baby, he's performing his wonderful pastimes, extraordinary pastimes, like killing the different demons, even when he's small, and lifting up Govardhan hill when he was only 7 years old. Extraordinary activities in this world. So very dramatic. So the pastimes of Krishna in this world, they seem to be more dramatic even than in the spiritual world sometimes. Like in Golok, in the spiritual world, the Govardhan hill is always there, and there's no demon there, so no need to kill anybody there, and no need to lift up Giriraj Govardhan, because Indradev is not coming there and disturbing the Brijvasis. So some slight differences are there, so the activities in the spiritual realm are most enchanting and wonderful. But these activities in this world of Krishna are there to attract the fallen conditioned souls. Krishna is showing, just look how nice time we have here with our associates, with the Gopas, and despite all difficulties, we have so much fun here. And then dancing with the gopis, so very wonderful. And so therefore the intelligent persons, of course, they will surrender to Krishna. But first we have to understand that Krishna is God, and that we are the insignificant servants of Krishna. And later on in purified consciousness, then we can feel the intimate relationship with Krishna, and then we will forget, and we should forget, that we will forget that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, that Krishna is simply my beloved. And then there's loving exchange there. And then also practically we can realize how Krishna, and one can practically realize how Krishna is always protecting us. Krishna is always guiding us. Krishna is making all arrangement so that we can be nicely situated in this world, so we have a place to stay, we have enough to eat. Without working hard, we simply have to serve Krishna. But it's so much fun. Also, we can dance in the kirtan, and we have nice feasts. So much fun is there, but we have to do a little seva. And even while serving, there's so much pleasure. While serving, it's not hard work and then big austerity. A little austerity is there, like on Ekadashi, no grains. On the appearance day of Krishna, we fast, but that is actually good for the body. That is purifying the consciousness, and is also good for the health to fast sometimes. So whatever is there mentioned in the scriptures, that is actually, even sometimes seems to be austerity, but it is very much helpful in many ways. So then in this way, so we can very nicely be engaged in devotional service, and we can at the same time also advance in our spiritual life and practically realize our transcendental nature as spirit soul, and our relationship with beautiful Krishna, with wonderful Krishna. And so already while engaged in devotional service, we can feel so much transcendental pleasure. Only some difficulties are there which we have to tolerate. And if sometimes we're in too much trouble, then we cry out to Krishna. Krishna will help us. Krishna will protect us. Even sometimes you wonder how I can advance, how I can come to the highest position. But then Krishna will make arrangement, and we can have good association, and then we will get inspiration from the heart, and the spiritual master there is there to help us, to show us exactly how to engage in pure devotional service as practicing devotee, and then how to engage in the realm of spontaneous love. Because if we want to go to Golok, the highest planet, so then we have to engage in spontaneous devotional service. And following the eternal associates of Krishna in Braj, they are known as Ragatmik Jan. So following them means Raganuga Bhakti. So the spiritual master will guide the devotee. So following regulative principles, but then also having the proper mood, and then externally chanting the holy names, but then internally meditating on Krishna, and also on Krishna's associates, and how they're engaged in loving service. So Krishna will help directly from the heart also. He's there in the heart. Not only as a super soul, but he's directly there. As a devotee, well, we recognize the super soul, we offer pranam to super soul. But we are looking for Krishna, we're looking for guidance from Krishna, protection from Krishna, not from Paramatma or Vishnu. Just like the gopis, when Krishna left the rasa dance, after Radharani had left, because she wanted to be with Krishna alone and her friends, not with all the other gopis which were there, the rival gopis and the new gopis who first time joined the Rasa Lila. So therefore she left, and when she left, then Krishna left also. When Krishna left, then the Rasa dance, where so many gopis were there, stopped. And then the gopis were looking for Krishna, and they saw, oh, Krishna must have found now Radharani, and they are together now. And they're a little bit envious there of oh, now Radharani is along with Krishna. But then Krishna also, because transcendentally she was also a little proud that I'm with Krishna alone. But actually she also wanted her friends to be with her. That was another reason why she actually then also wanted to be again reunited with her friends. But then Krishna left her also, and then all the other gopis met with Radharani also, and then together they were looking for Krishna. Krishna, where is Krishna? They were asking the bushes, and the plants, even the animals, have you seen Krishna? Of course, the animals and the bushes, they cannot talk. But because they have so much love, that they were thinking, oh, they're not answering because they're so busy in their activities. And then Krishna wanted to play a trick, so he assumed the form of Vishnu, So all the gopis came there, most of the gopis, and Pranam Vishnu, have you seen Krishna? Krishna in the form of Vishnu. Krishna, I have not seen, my dear. Okay, it's okay. Then they're going here and there. They didn't care for Vishnu. But then when Radharani came, so Krishna, because she has so much love for Krishna, she went to Radharani, and Krishna also, of course, is so much attracted because of Radharani's love. He's so much attracted to her. And when she's there, looking for Krishna, then Krishna in the form of Vishnu, he could not hold his 4 arms, and then his 2 arms, Vishnu disappeared and Krishna is there. So similarly, Paramatma is there in our heart. We know, even although we may not see him, but even if we can see him, then we'll say, Hare Hare Bol, Paramatma, have you seen Krishna? And now also, when we are trying to find some guidance from Krishna, then we pray to Krishna within the heart. And we say, Pranam Paramatma, thank you for trying to help me, but I'm looking for Krishna. I'm looking for Krishna's guidance. Because actually Vishnu, well, of course, is Supreme Lord, he can help a little bit, but actually we want Krishna's help. For anything we go to Krishna, we don't go to Vishnu, we go to Krishna. So we call out to Krishna, 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 please help me within the heart. And then Krishna will help. So like this, so the devotees will always try to take shelter of Krishna, not even Paramatma. And then Krishna will help, he will give guidance from within the heart. Or we will send a pure devotee, a Braj Bhakta, Rasik Vaishnava, a devotee who is fully absorbed in loving exchange with Krishna. So he can help us. So Krishna will also guide us to such a devotee who can help us. So Krishna is very merciful, so we simply have to surrender to Krishna, and we have to call out to Krishna, we have to call to Krishna for help. And of course, even the internal potency, Srimati Radharani, she is the most exalted of the devotees of Krishna, of the associates of Krishna. Therefore, when we chant the Maha Mantra, we say first Hare and then Krishna. So what is Hare? That refers to Hara, Srimati Radharani. Hara means she who is taking Krishna's mind away. So even the verse is there. Harati si Krishna mana Krishna lada sarupini. Ato harati, what is it? But the meaning is that she's stealing Krishna's mind. She's Krishna's internal potency. And so she's known as Srimati Radharani, Radha. But so when we call out, so of course Radharani, there are 1,000 names of Radharani, so one of them is Hara. And so that refers to the internal potency, refers to Srimati Radharani. But when we call out, then we say Hare, just like Radharani's name is there, Radha. But when we call out, we say Radhe. So this way, so we call out to Srimati Radharani. Please, Srimati Radharani, engage me in the service of Krishna. So she's the abode of love. Krishna is the object of, is our prananath, is the Lord of our life. But Srimati Radharani, she's the abode of love. So she's most expert in giving pleasure to Krishna. She knows how to satisfy Krishna. So therefore we take shelter of Srimati Radharani, and then by her mercy we can be engaged in the service of Krishna. Of course, even before Radharani, we take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is no different from Radha and Krishna. It's Krishna himself, but in the mood and the lust of Srimati Radharani, coming in the form as a devotee to show us how to engage in devotional service. So he was there as a devotee, and he was crying out just to show us how we have to cry for Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, please manifest before me. Or hey Radhi, please help me to attain Krishna. So by taking shelter of Mahaprabhu, then we can become qualified to take shelter of Srimati Radharani, and then we can become qualified to serve Krishna. And of course, even before Mahaprabhu, we have to take shelter of the spiritual master, the representative of Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna. Krishna Kripa Sri Murti is the manifestation of Krishna's mercy. The spiritual master is a manifestation of Krishna, Srimati Radharani, Mahaprabhu or Balaram. So, Nityananda Prabhu. So we take shelter of first Guru, then Gauranga, then Srimati Radharani, and then Krishna. And how do we take shelter? By chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. And in this way we'll attain lasting peace. śaśvac-chāntiṁ. So Shanti means peace, śaśvat means everlasting peace. So the process is very wonderful and very simple. By Mahaprabhu's mercy, simply chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, serve the deities, take nice Krishna Prasad. Hare Kṛṣṇa.